There's a self-imposed cap and a change to a single-purpose metropolitan district. So it is strictly to run and operate the Fidalgo Pool and Fitness Center. And that cap has been put at 12 cents. So the highest mill rate that you will be voting on is a 12-cent cap per 1,000. And just for, again, historical reference, in 2015, that mill rate that was voted on was 13.19 cents per thousand, and in 2021 it was 11.37 cents. So that number, which really had no merit other than just the commissioners wanted to pick a number that seemed reasonable, responsible, and don't really actually knew exactly what that meant at the time as far as numbers go. But when we submit the budget in the end of 2026, or the new commissioners, if they are elected, submit the budget, that will then determine what the actual levy amount is. And then that mill rate gets adjusted based on your property values, because Washington is a amount-based state. So once we've submitted a budget amount that's approved, that has a cap of 1% that it can increase every year. And if we ever wanted to ask for more, we would have to come back to the voters to see if we could get a levy lift on that to maybe catch up with inflation again. Because that does go up every single year. Let's see. I think that covers most of what this actually is. Oh, sorry. The other thing that is changing in this resolution is the boundaries. You'd be expanding to realign with the Anacortes School District, which would bring in Guimas and Cypress Island. And that basically reflects the community that we feel the pool serves.
And South Fidalgo.
South Fidalgo?
Yeah, the rest of
Gotcha.
Fidalgo Island, it's not in the city limits.
Okay, all the 92 ones, okay, perfect. No?
Anybody have a question that is fact-based? Well,
So, is
why
the
don't you
amount
stand up?
fixed? If all of a sudden you do need more money for a big repair, you can't raise it beyond the 12 cents, right? Or
No, that would be, no, we can't, we cannot raise beyond the 12 cents other than the standard 1% annual cap on that amount. That's currently in place as well. So once the levy is voted on, it only goes up 1% a year until the next levy rate, or levy vote. What this would do is that it would allow the pool to look for outside financing. So an example would be our pool liner. You know, a couple of years ago, it was estimated to be around the $400,000 repair job, and there isn't really any money in the budget currently to do that. But if the Metropolitan District passed, the pool commissioners could go to a bank, get a private loan, and work that into a budget to make that repair. To basically maintain the current facility. It has nothing to do with the new facility, but there are some future implications of potential expanded options when it comes time to potentially do that, because obviously the pool's not getting younger.
So I have heard that commissioners can vote themselves a salary. Is this true, and do you have any control over that?
I believe, I was reading up on that a little bit today. There is a reference in there that the commissioners of a metropolitan district can earn a salary, but I have to check and verify. I do not believe that was something that they could vote on. It had to be voted by more people.
it's actually an RCW, it's 161 days, it's $61 for every day worked, up to a maximum of 15,000 something or other. It's mandatory, but it can be returned to the district at the commissioner's discretion.
There you go. Thank you. A lot of RCWs.
Back there. Yep.
Hi, so I'm confused about the funding mechanism. So there is the Metropolitan District that taxes property on an annual basis. Then you also mentioned levy. So would, in addition to that, there occasionally be like a capital levy?
No, this is basically replacing the current structure that you see on your tax bill right now. So that would go away. It would basically be like this next vote that we would do would be have an amount on there, 12 cents. The assessor would tell us how much that equates to in the new assessed value in our district. And then we would then submit a budget that would go up to that amount. and the commissioners and myself would submit a budget that would be a max of that amount, and once it's set, there would be a 1% increase in there. So the only additional funding, if ever was necessary, would have to come back to a vote.
So to continue this conversation, a 1% cap will not keep up with inflation. So what is the mechanism for occasionally adjusting the budget up to respond to inflation?
Basically the same way that it's currently run right now. Because right now, there's an opportunity every 6 years to come back to the voters and say, it's time to catch up with inflation. So you see a new number, a new ballot, a new amount that's basically on that resolution. The difference is, I mean, we'd still have to follow that structure because we'd be silly to think that 1% a year is going to stay the same forever. I mean, everybody knows taxes and death are like the only two things that are certainties in life, right? And so taxes are going to go up. If we weren't doing this in 2027, we would be coming up for a new levy amount, which would probably be pretty similar to a 12-cent amount, whatever that equates to. But we would then, have to come back for a vote, just like we would in 2027. The major difference is there's no fear of failure, right? So the chance that the levy fails goes away, which that is very attractive to money lenders, because not very often will a bank loan someone money if there's a chance they might not exist in 6 years.
Right, so I'm still confused though. So let's say in 6 years' time, it's time to catch up with inflation. Vote goes to the voters to adjust the levy amount. What happens if that vote fails?
We gotta figure it out. I mean, honestly,
Does it stay at the previous rate?
Yeah, it would stay at the previous rate. I think it would just be at a 1% cap in perpetuity, ultimately, unless the commissioners decide to dissolve the district.
Okay, Walter Reddy asked a question.
Oh, oh.
Why don't you ask yours?
Question is, have you been putting aside the funds in case of an emergency for any medium, not major, but medium emergencies rather than having to go to the bank?
The pool does have some reserves.
Reserves.
I just had this question with the Anacortes American, and so we looked it up in the balance sheet. It's about $620,000 roughly in total accounts. A vast majority of that is pretty much already set aside for general maintenance operations. And so there isn't a capital reserve fund account or anything like that that is set aside for anything major. And we're talking, I mean, we can take a little boiler, $20,000, $30,000, those aren't problems, but we're talking stuff like roofs, pool liners, and things that we can't see. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. And the pool liner, I think John, who's an amazing person who keeps that place going and keeps it as good as we can imagine, but the pool liner has been needed to be addressed for a while, but there's a hesitation to even drain it because they're scared of the integrity of the pool. So once that pressure goes away, what kind of can of worms could that open up? And so, I mean, everybody knows it's a good facility, but it's getting old and it's outdated in a lot of ways. So, yeah. Yes.
I just want to be clear and make sure that I heard what you said. Did you in fact say that if the levy passes, the pool stays, and if this Metropolitan Park District does not pass, the pool goes away?
No.
Okay.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay.
I said if the 6-year levy ever failed, the pool would not exist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying
Yeah,
that.
no, we're everything would stay the same. If this doesn't pass, we just keep going business as usual.
Okay. Thank you.
I've heard that if it goes through, that the new commissioners would have the power of eminent domain. Can you address that and the implications of that?
Yeah, I've heard that term a few times, and I'm not in a position to answer that question accurately, so I'm gonna have to probably pass, because I don't, if there's someone else that knows, Cindy, you wanna speak to that?
I've done a fair amount of research into this and read the RCWs that do give that power to a metropolitan district, but understanding that concern from the last election, the city and county attorneys crafted the resolution and the ballot measure to limit the scope of responsibility and authority to the Fidalgo Pool and Fitness Center campus. So there is no ability to go outside of those boundaries, as there might have been without that narrow definition.
Yeah, this,
So what is the definition of campus? Is it, what's the existing footprint for the pool right now?
It would
Or
be
is
the,
it-
the properties owned by the pool.
Which
which-
is, how
which
much
is-
of that,
They
how
own the
much of
one
that you
next door
guys
too,
own?
right?
yes, for sure. So, I mean, again, this is conversations had with the commission. All public meetings are open. This is all stuff we want you guys to talk about and learn. But when we were talking about this specific aspect, and reducing the rate, which we thought was important for the community to show intent, which is hard to prove, right? But one of the attorneys said that, asked if we were going to a single purpose district, and what does that mean? And just like Cindy said, in that resolution, it says the powers in the RCW to operate this. But when we talked to our attorney, we wanted to make sure that there was, that by doing that, it wasn't going to inhibit potentially building a new facility, down the road. And so the campus was kind of put on there to kind of say it is our property. We do own the land that the senior center is on. And so the city owns the senior center building. And so there's a potential, we have a 30-year lease with them. It's $1 a year just to kind of share the parking lot, and they maintain everything. But there's an opportunity potentially at some point they might walk away from that building and say, we're gonna build a new senior center down the road. And that would be the pool's building, and so we could then potentially use it for the community in some fashion. And we wanted to make sure that there wasn't gonna be any legal issues with that. But a lot of the stuff that the RCW say, it's really based on what the commissioners that are elected by the community have goals for. And so I know that in those discussions, all the commissioners are trying to do is make sure that the health pool stays in. And so there's no plans on gaining new property, or there's a few houses that we own that are part of the footprint of where a new facility would be built if it ever comes to fruition. But that's years down the road, obviously, and a lot of dollars away.
When does that 30-year lease end?
I have to check. We were just having discussions with it, like when I first started in April, so I think it probably just renewed. So it might be another 30 years from now, but I can verify.
In expanding the boundaries, and that's what it says, expand the boundaries, does that mean that the pool then anticipates expanding the, participation at the pool by more people because they're inviting more people in? And can the pool accommodate that? Do they have a staff? Do they have the building? Can they accommodate more people?
Yeah, we do have
Program.
community users from those areas. We have out-of-district fees and in-district fees, so there are people that are
Right.
coming over from Fidalgo Island, Weemus Island. And yes, our infrastructure currently can absolutely operate. We have room, plenty of room for users to come in and take advantage of the facilities and the programs that we offer. That's
So
not-
that the fees would be across the board the same?
Yes, the fees would be the same, and,
For all?
yeah, for all users, because they would be in district.
So, oh, one more, sorry, Orange.
So I didn't hear the number that was before this thing passed. Is it about the same amount of money you're gonna get every year, or is it gonna be more now?
The money would increase, on one, because property values have gone up over years. Obviously, we'd be expanding the district. I actually had, Shay got some information from Annette, she passed that along to me, so I do have some of that information.
Because right now you're getting half a million from taxes.
$873,000 is our current levy amount for 2025. And
So now you're gonna be getting all the Green's money too, right?
what's that,
You're
sir?
gonna be getting money from Green's now too, right?
Yeah, it's about 67,000. Our current rate would be about $67,000 total. for the-
Oh, increase from, so basically you're doing it just to have insurance that you're having money every single year, no matter what.
That's the main, yeah.
Okay.
All right, well,
Thank you.
in order to keep us on time.
I thought I would repeat when the next things are coming up, and we'll put it on the board, because it is kind of confusing. So on October 10th, which is a Friday, excuse me, we have invited all the pool candidates and the Metropolitan Recreation District candidates. 7.
Will that be in this room as well?
That'll be in this room, and we've also asked Eric if he has time to come back as well. Yeah, I might have to take it over, sorry. The 14th is the candidate forum for the city council and the port at City Hall. So it has nothing to do with us, and that starts at 5, ends at 8. And that's the League of Women Voters and the Chamber of Commerce. So that's the 14th, and that is a Tuesday night. And then we're going to have another meeting in October on the 28th. And that is with the Washington State legislators for the 40th and 10th. So, a lot going on.
Will you be posting this online so that we can see it? Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, the two forums that we do, the 10th and the 28th, we'll record. I assume that the chamber will use their and the city hall video stuff that they do. So I don't know that for a fact, but they usually do record their meetings. So
Where is the meeting on the 28th?
here at the library, and that's the Fidelga Democrats.
And that's also 7 o'clock?
Yeah, we tend to meet at 7, and we try to end around 9-ish. So, thank you all again.
Thanks, Barbara. So much to do. All right, anybody who can't hear me, let me know. Oh, I guess you can all hear me, all right.
Perfect.
All right, I'll try to keep that up. Well, thank you all for being here. It's an outstanding crowd. We have interesting candidates to speak with tonight. Just like to do a little bit of housekeeping first. Aside from thanking you all, I want to give an opportunity to anyone else who's elected or running for office who's not being grilled tonight to stand up, say their name, what they're doing, and then sit down. Do we have any other electeds? Wow, they've forsaken us. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Sandy Finney. I'm going to be running for a Metro Park District Commissioner. And, oh, sorry, that's not how I do it. And I just wanted to introduce myself. I'll be here on the 10th. I just saw your email.
Great,
Yeah.
good.
I'm Courtney Orrock. I'm running for City Council, position 6, and I will see you all on the 14th at City Hall.
PCOs, anybody else want to be recognized?
Always.
Okay. All right, well, there's one. I know we got another one back there. All right, well, we'll just move right on. I want to acknowledge the Fidalgo Democrats Steering Committee, who are really responsible for making these events happen. If you're on the steering committee, would you stand up and be recognized? And finally, we'll say this again later, but I'm going to thank the candidates. I see 1, 2, where's Mary? There you are back there. It takes a lot of courage to do this. They don't, unlike the chamber, they don't know what questions are going to be asked tonight. That's my job. I also want to say that I personally am not involved in any candidate's campaign in any way, and no one else on the steering committee knows the questions that are going to be asked tonight. So if you don't like what I ask, it's my fault. On the other hand, you better like it. Okay. Because of the work that the Fidalgo Democrats does in the community to provide as much education of interest as we can, we do have some minimal expenses. They're not high, but at some point someone will pass the hat, as it were, and if you are so inclined to drop in a shekel or two, that would be lovely, and if not, we will never know. Okay, with that in mind, here's the format for tonight. Would our lovely 3 candidates please come on up? the candidates knew in advance what the format would be, and any of you who've been here before, it's largely unchanged. We have two candidates who are opposing each other in their candidacy. That's Mary LaFleur and Terry, excuse me, and Terry, I always stumble over your last name. I apologize. Carol Ellis?
It's Gillis. I'm the Carol, my wife's the Gillis.
I'm sorry, I just always mess that up, and I have a hyphenated last name. I'm so sorry.
Hindsight probably wouldn't have
Okay,
done
so Mary and Terry will answer each question alternating in order. When one goes first on a question, they'll go second on the next question. Bob has the opportunity, since he is now running unopposed. We still want to know more about Bob, since he is going to be one of our new commissioners, and he's graciously agreed to continue to participate in the forum. He will answer each of the same questions, but he will answer last. Okay. We do have a timer, our wonderful Vanna White. And the candidates have always been very respectful of those time limits. I'll do my best to make sure that every candidate has equal speaking time as much as possible. There may be follow-up questions at my discretion if I hear something that I think is worth following up or needs clarifying. Each candidate will have 3 minutes. I think we said 3 minutes, maybe we said 2, you can take whichever one you want, to introduce yourselves, and at the end of the forum, we will allow each candidate an opportunity to make a closing statement. Audience members are encouraged to submit questions to us. We're going to be handing out 3x5 cards. So if you don't hear something asked that you want asked, please submit it, and we'll be screening the questions. We do that just to be efficient. We don't want to duplicate questions. We want to make sure the questions are relevant, and so we will ask them as time and relevance permit. Halfway through, we're going to take a 5-minute break, which will undoubtedly turn into 10. During the break, and especially after the forum is over, if you want to take the opportunity to speak to any of the candidates, I'm sure they're all willing to stick around and do that. Okay. Well, I had the candidates choose a number, but now I forget who's going first. Okay. Terry, won't you? Oh, and one last thing. I would appreciate it very much if after each candidate introduces herself or himself, please give them a round of applause. And after that, please don't applaud. It really interrupts the flow and takes up a lot of time. Okay, so Terry, please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity tonight. I'm Terry Carol Gillis, and I'm running for Anacortes Port Commissioner.
Closer to the mic,
Position number 1. Now I gotta put on my big girl voice here. I'm running because I feel to really be part of community is to serve that community. And also, I've always wanted to make a difference, and I've wanted to do that ever since I was a teenager, when I got really mad at my dad, and I said, I'm gonna change the world. And he laughed. I found that throughout life that you can still make differences, and this is what I'm looking to do. I'm also excited and very impressed with the mission of the Port of Anacortes. I think it's a vital mission. It provides an economic growth. It provides maritime and aviation safety, as well as it provides for our ecology. Why should you vote for me? I'll tell you what, I have a very strong background in governance. Leading and developing and enacting policies as Navy veteran of 45 years at the highest senior enlisted rank for the last 20 of those years. And let me put that in perspective for you. As a command master chief, we're only 1% of 330,000 service members in the Navy, just 1%. Command master chief is 1.3% of that 1%. You don't get there unless you have a good understanding of mission and a good ability to really communicate that and collaborate and set meaningful policy. You have to have all those skills. Also, I was a budget analyst and financial analyst, so I have a strong fiduciary knowledge and responsibility, or understanding the responsibilities of board member. I also have collaboration experience working as a workforce and regional workforce and economic development board member. Also, I was a board member in which the last 2 terms of a very large HOA, the Skyline. I understand what it means to collaborate. I understand that when we're working together as a team, that we must we must listen for understanding, and we also must listen with curiosity. And then also, as we're presenting our perspective, do so respectfully and in a meaningful way to help to come to some form of agreement, and understanding that, you know what, my idea or my thoughts may not be the best for the community, that it's got to rest with the best decision and not my own desires. My core principle: personal integrity, fair wages, and a healthy environment. Last but not least, Mother Teresa said we can do no great things, only small things with great love, and that's how I live my life. So thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Mary?
Hello, I'm Mary LaFleur. Thank you for coming tonight. One of my big goals is to be the most transparent commissioner you've ever seen, and I want to hear from you always. Yesterday I attended an all-day port retreat, and it was the first time ever in all the meetings, and there's been hundreds I've been to, where they actually talked about the plans for the north end of the marina replacement. I was really excited to hear that. There's 5 commissioners on the board, and right now we have Sean Ottenbright. We have a very diverse group, which is great. Sean Ottenbright owns Freedom Boat Club. He was the finance director for Hewlett Packard before that, has vast knowledge of marine and finance. Kathy Pittis is a former 20-year employee of the port, and she knows the history of the port really well, and that's been really helpful to me in a lot of the meetings we've been in. And currently she is at DCI in accounts receivable. We have Bonnie Bowers, a former police chief with city and port relationships. We have Bob Papadakis, who we know is going to be a commissioner, and he brings a Navy career, a Boeing career, and is a pilot who understands airports, so he'll be a really good fit for us. What do I bring to the table? I bring 40 years of marine industry experience. I have a lot of connections in that business. I've been in our marina as a tenant every day for 38 years. I know all of the user groups well. I know what their desires are, what they need. I've been 13 years on the marine trades. I'm really close to a lot of those businesses. I know them very well, and I've served them and worked with them for years. I've been on the Anacortes Port Advisory Committee for 10 years, so I've helped them with procedures and recommendations and knowledge of the user groups. I'm not all talk, I'm action. I did bring to the town of Anacortes, through being a chamber chairman, the Anacortes Yacht and Boat Show, through my relationships with the Northwest Marine Trades. That has been very successful. We bring a lot of people to town, it brings a lot of money, and our profits from it are about $50,000 a year, and those go to the Anacortes small boat community, they go to the tech college, and they're all given back to our community, so we keep none of it. Now that the port's finally looking at a plan for this, it's very exciting to me, and I will use every relationship I have to help and talk to all the user groups. It's very important the user groups are very involved in this. And I am excited about this challenge, and I'm ready to take it on.
Thanks, Mary. Bob?
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Bob Papadakis, and I'm running for the position of Port Commissioner for District 2. First, I'd like to thank Shay for moderating this forum tonight, and for Barbara Cooper's leadership in organizing this series of forums to provide an opportunity for candidates to share their views and engage with the community. As Mary said, I have a career in the Navy background, also 16 years with Boeing at the nearby base here at Whidbey Island, representing the company in the defense sector. I'm also the board chair for the Tri-Parish Food Bank, and I think those board skills will serve me well on the commission, knowing things like Robert's Rules of Order and how to do a budget. I'm running for Port Commission because I strongly believe in the port's role as an economic engine for our community. Whether it's at the marine terminal, in the marina, at the airport, or at one of our many upland properties, the Port's mission is straightforward, and that's to develop and manage facilities and services which stimulate private job creation and create commerce. As a candidate for the commission, I fully understand and strongly support the second portion of the Port's mission statement. While creating jobs and growing commerce, the Port must do this while protecting the quality of life, needs, and desires of area residents. In carrying out my duties as Port Commissioner, I will hold true to my guiding principles. First, sustainment and upgrade of port infrastructure. The responsible, proactive sustainment of existing port infrastructure must continue to be a top priority. We must maintain and, when needed, upgrade the assets that we have to execute our mission today and in the future. Second, balanced growth. While it's part of the Port's mission to help stimulate job creation and commerce, it is also the responsibility of the Port to do so in an environmentally responsible manner. Economic growth and environmental stewardship can be complementary when properly planned. Fiscal responsibility. I will work closely with my fellow commissioners and the Port staff to align planning with realistic budgeting, ensuring that the Port's budget provides a solid fiscal foundation for its operations and future growth. Public access. We are a public port that acts in the best interest of its citizens. When developing properties and facilities, we must always be mindful of continued public access to the beautiful, unique maritime environment that surrounds us. I look forward to answering your questions tonight and hope to provide you with a better understanding of my background and my perspective as a candidate for Port Commissioner.
Well, I don't know the answer to all my questions. Actually, that was pretty stellar. And of course, for two of the three of you, you've been through this before, so we know your performance is going to be fabulous tonight. Okay. Terry, since you answered first, Mary, I'm going to ask you to do this one. You've all broached this already in your introduction, but I'd like to drill down just a bit. Could you describe really specifically what in your background and experience qualifies you or prepares you, gets you ready to oversee the budget and financial management of an organization as large and complex as this port?
So there's 5 commissioners, so I would only be one of the 5, but I've served many years in the marine world, so I understand a lot of what the issues are with the marina itself, and that's gonna be our biggest part of this, is rebuilding that marina is about $70 million. So we're gonna have to come up with some money for that, and part of the plan is to get the deep water port bringing in more clients and more money, so we can start setting that aside. We need to work on that pretty heavy. I think that my perspective, you know, everything I do revolves around boating. So it's all marine related. If I'm not in our marina, I'm in a different marina. So I get to see what they do, and that's the course of my work every day. And I sponsor a lot of events, and I'm very connected to the marine world. And I think I can bring that to the table, and I know a lot of the other ports. I know there are people that work there, so I can always call them. I have great relationships in that regard, and I can ask, how are you guys handling this? What are you guys doing to do that? I think I'll be real beneficial because of the relationships I have.
Ask the question here, please.
Sure. I'm asking you to be very specific in telling us what in your previous experience and background will allow you to help develop and oversee a budget and the financial management of an organization similar to the Port of Anacortes.
Okay, well, I think the Navy's a big organization. I think it's kind of similar. And most of my budgeting experience is from that. I worked in budgeting in the Navy for over 10 years. The last command I was at was Naval Space and Warfare Command, which I had a $43 million budget that I developed and managed, and also it involved the project, making sure that we're on time and that we're obligating and expending the money and all that's getting done, as well as ensuring that I never go over the budget, or that I have a residual, which is extra at the end of the fiscal period, in which we were, by law, had to be within 3%. I was always under 2%. And to me, that was huge. I took a lot of pride in that. Also, as a field office manager, I had to develop and manage a budget for my own field office, managing payroll, making sure that our expenses are staying in aligned, and also starting a whole new project as they were changing their operations around. And so I had to make sure I could account for that. So it meant hiring temporary folks and trying to manage all that to make sure, one, we got the mission done, so to speak, as well as stay within my budget. And that it meant going out partnering with other organizations to, you know, because not everyone has enough resources. So I met with my partners, and you know, we got a lot of things done, especially on the Workforce and Economic Development Board. So yes, I do understand budgets very well, and I feel very confident being, also I was, you know, the president of HOA too. So, you know, I had to look at that budget, and that was always challenging as well. So I can tell you. Okay, thank you.
If I think back to my Navy career and my time in the Pentagon, my responsibilities there were, you probably haven't heard, but there's some jets that fly overhead here. I was responsible for the requirements and budgeting for the EA-18G and its predecessor, the EA-6B. And during that time, when you do that, you're not only working with operational budgets, very important, obviously, for maintenance and purposes, but you're also dealing with acquisition and planning and phasing of dollars, and dollars that don't make it that year, that roll to the next year. All those things happen at the port as well. Very similar with those processes. Fiscal years are different, but you know, that's just something that is just natural with budgets. I remember using the term when I was working on some of the flyers and leaflets that we sent out, using the term defending the budget when I had someone from one of the local foundations looking at my language, and she said, "What does that mean?" And it was a day-to-day fight to hang on to your money. And what that really meant was you had to have a Socratic argument, an unemotional, fact-based argument to defend your budget. So when you flip that on its head, you have to have a Socratic approach to everything, and you have to be able to collaborate with other people when you're working to get things done. And that same kind of talent will I think, serve me well on the port. And then finally, in the nonprofit world, at the food bank that I work in, it is a budget that we go through every year. We just finished wrapping up midsummer our fiscal year, and we're currently going through a WSDA audit, so that's kind of fun. But there's no malfeasance there.
And which food bank might that be? No, you don't answer that. All of you, I'm going to ask you a follow-up to that question. All of you have discussed your experience, your background in budgeting and management. You've done so as staff or as citizens, business owners, but not as commissioners. What is the Port Commissioner's responsibility regarding operations and staff development? And Terry, you'll be first.
Okay, so operations and staff development. The commissioner's role is, as you know, we're board of directors, so we provide the governance. The actual role is to be informed, and that's through the executive director. He will inform us, and we meet, and we're looking at all of the budget, and we're looking at projections and everything. What's that? Comprehensive plans of all the maintenance that needs to get done, the things that we want to accomplish, and looking at developing as well. And when we're doing that, we're setting the goals, we're setting the vision. It's the executive director that actually executes with his staff and all the people that work there at the port. We're just setting the mission, we're setting the vision, we're setting the goals, and they're looking to us for that guidance. And then we're looking to them to find out how they're executing it. And we're looking at that, and that we report directly to executive director, and he reports to us. So we don't get involved with actual development of staff or anything like that. We can approve training and approve, and I think that's great, various activities. But yeah, it's the executive director that runs the staff. I hope I answered that right.
Okay, so with the 5 commissioners, we do set the goals. We have a great finance director, so she is very astute on various costs, what goes on. I've seen the budgets for this for years as I've been on the MAC. So we don't really have as much to do with the budgets as you would think. We have visions and goals. So what we do is set a goal, and then we go back to John and his team and say, hey, what is this gonna cost? What are we looking at? How many years is it gonna take? What's that gonna be? So we give direction, but really we have one employee, and that's John Dumas, and then he has his staff. And then they are the ones that go through and do all the budgeting work and stuff. But when we, like in the all-day retreat yesterday, it's, okay, if we take out that breakwater, we're taking this project from a possibly $67 million project to $100 million. But we could actually expand the marina. So those decisions, we have to really rely on the staff and their budgets and their history and what they know to come back to us so that we can make a decision which way to go forward. So that we're more of a goal setting, we're more of a leadership role for them, but they do a lot of the heavy lifting.
Thank you. Has been said before, our duty there is direction, vision, and guidance on the commission. I think the current executive director said it best. He says, tell us where you want us to go and get out of the way. So his predecessor, when I went for my initial candidate interview, told me, you're not going to get involved in operations, are you? Because when we started talking, I was very animated, very excited about the operations that the port has and the staff and so forth. And I had to back off and tell him, no, I understand my role, but your job's pretty cool. As far as development of staff goes, and I agree with Mary, we have an incredible staff, a very lean staff for the amount of revenue that the board brings in. And I'll brag on the financial director a little bit more. In calendar year 24, she went through a zero discrepancy audit, which for a budget our size is pretty unheard of in a public organization. That's pretty amazing. Development of staff, as been said before, the executive director is really responsible for that. But one thing that I am very happy to learn as I learn more about the port, and I was there with Mary, as was Terry at the meetings yesterday at the all-day retreat, is that staff and the commissioners often go to conferences and educational training opportunities together. So we're learning alongside each other. So we're going to learn from each other as well. So there's some mentoring that can go on there in a two-way manner. So I'm excited to endeavor in that as well.
Thank you. So you're all really in agreement that it is your job to watch over the executive director and let him do the work. All right. So the next question, you'll have to keep track of me, whoever goes first. I think it's Mary this time. Most commissions, boards, councils, whatever they are, will agree on most of the issues that come before them. They'll have unanimous votes. But there are those occasions where there's controversy and conflict, and it might be a 4-1 vote or a 3-2 vote. My question to you is, should you be on the minority side of a vote, how will you handle the fact that a measure you opposed has now been passed?
That's how it works. The vote's the vote, and you have to stand by the vote, because the people have spoken, and we hope to get as much information as we possibly can to make those decisions. And when we don't have enough information, then we need to go out and seek it and find the information. And a lot of times, communication is why people don't vote together. Maybe somebody doesn't understand one part of it, or maybe it just gets to where somebody digs their heels in and they go, no, that's how I feel about it, and that's fine too. So the majority rules, and that's how the governance plays out, and that's what we have to do, and I'll be fine with that.
What she says is true. I really feel that you have to listen, seeking understanding. If you're so out of odds with what everyone else wants, I think it's important to kind of step back and say, okay, I wonder why. Listen with curiosity and understanding, and ask those pertinent questions, and find a meaningful way to present your perspective. And again, understand that the vote is gonna be what's best for the community. And as long as I care what's best for the community, and I'm not concerned about my own personal desires, I don't have a problem. I've never had a problem. And I've sat on some pretty contentious boards, and we've made decisions, you know, Chief Smith as well. Anyone in the Navy understands that. And the agreement is, once we step out of here, we're all on the same page, okay? We made the decision, and we're all gonna stand behind that decision. I think that's critical, because if you don't, then you lose the confidence of the organization and the community. So we all must be on the same page, and that's, you know, we're professionals, and this is a professional board. And I was very impressed with that board yesterday, as well as the staff. I've never met or seen such a professional group of folks and organization. I really admire the heck out of them.
Once you vote on something, regardless of what your vote is versus the group, once the vote's made, you get on board, and that's the bottom line, because that is a process, just like Mary said. You know, the great thing about public meetings is that your dissent is part of the public record, right? You don't have to go off into a room and write a 67-page dissent. It's just it's up right there on tape. So, you know, people know your voice has been heard. Your constituents know your voice has been heard. You're part of the record. Running counter to the decision is really detrimental to the team, and as Terry said, it really erodes confidence in the board. It erodes confidence in the professionalism of everyone on the board, even though that you might be the one throwing the rocks. So, also an important piece is that, you know, a united front, just like, you know, we were all talking about communication up here, you want to make sure that the same message, the correct message, is being sent to everyone. And as board commissioners, sometimes the president of the commission isn't always available to face with either a government official who's coming through, or a local community organization that wants to hear about the port. So all the commissioners are eligible to go out and for those public meetings. And if all 5 commissioners aren't on board, well, that's not good for the board once again. So that's another opportunity for us to all have the same message and the same face. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask one more question, and then we're going to take a brief break, because we've been sitting here for an hour. Well, I haven't been sitting, but you have. And who's first? Is it Mary? Oh, it's Terry. Thank you. You can collaborate and tell me who's going first. Here's the question. I mean, you know, I can do only so much. What is the benefit of having a port district? Why don't we just let private business do this?
Mainly it's, my understanding is, as a municipality or as a port district, is one business doesn't have enough resources, or businesses wouldn't have enough resources to really go and do what they need to do, or to develop, like in this case for Anacortes, because this is a maritime area, more of that maritime industry and building up that cluster and to promote economic development. So really it takes the resources of the port to come together, and combining all resources, as well as partnering with the city and other organizations that a business cannot do on its own. So I really feel the biggest advantage of the port is because we can oversee, we can bring these businesses together and provide them services that it would be redundant for all of them to have to provide for themselves. And I think that's really important. So that's the best I can answer that one. Thank you.
The port actually is a business. It's not a government entity, it's a business, and it runs like a business, and it has to profit and support itself. So it is a business. So it has the business of the deep water port. It has its properties, it has the airport, it has the marina, and it has the ability to grant, which is great. It works with other government entities well, so that's a really bonus for it. But truly, it is a business. It's not like another business could really take that over. The Washington ports, they're all a part of that. It's important that people understand that it has to run like a business. It has to make money, and it has to be able to fix its own infrastructure, and it has to be able to employ its own people and do all of the jobs that the port has to do.
Yes, I absolutely agree that, you know, it's a public corporation, and the power of having a port be a public entity that is a corporation and run like a business is like the revenue streams that Mary alluded to. A great example is grants, right? If you're a public entity and there's a benefit for a private business for money to be passed through, that cannot go, you know, that cannot go directly to them. So say you had an opportunity to have electrification of a particular site for electric vehicles or something, right? That money can't go straight from the EPA to Joe's electrical vehicle company, right? It has to have some pass through. So and I think one of the reasons that's in there is there's protections in place, because what does the port do? It's looking out for the betterment of the community, right? If the port wasn't here, I'm not so sure if we'd be watching concerts at SMP on the weekends, right? And during the summertime, who had to step in and help clean up environmental that was left behind by Scott Paper, right? And you know, so there are a lot of things there, and I think especially in the environmental area, having a port is very advantageous, because they have the power to purchase land, and also work closely with the Department of Ecology of the state of Washington, also environmental at the federal level. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna ask a follow-up question. So what's the role of private enterprise?
What's that?
What's the role of private enterprise?
What, as it, go ahead. As it pertains to the port?
Absolutely, that's what we
It is
were-
private, yet it's public, so it's kind of an interesting entity, because it is run like a business, and it is, there's a lot of things we do for the community. You know, the SMP is a good example. I love the concert series there, and really the people in town need to have a place by the water. It's an island, and we need places where we can all go and be by the water. I'm not really following your exact question on this.
Okay, fair enough. Let's see if I can clarify. There are times when a port district or a port authority may enter into a collaborative agreement with private enterprise.
Right.
Or when a port authority might, in fact, do something that a private company could do but is not chosen to do. So I'm asking, even though the port district is unique, is there a role for private enterprise? What do you see as the role of private enterprise?
Oh, absolutely. I think partnering with other businesses is a great idea. We look at the Small Boat Center or the Oars or any of the organizations that want to partner with us, either where we swap land or where we hold the lease on the land and they can build. That's part of what we do now. Anthony's owns the building and we own the land. So Secret Cove's the same way. Secret Cove, the building's up for sale, but the port owns the land. So we do a lot of those collaborations, and we'll continue to do that. Now I'm tracking you.
No, that's a critical part for economic growth too, and the port is a public entity. Yes, it runs like a business, like the pool and some other places where it does generate revenue and it helps with the operating costs. So that means very little money comes from your taxes. And it must work with these entities, and it's bringing in businesses, it's working with these businesses. The port wants these businesses to succeed. So yes, if there's opportunities to partner with these businesses, we should always be partnering with them, and even seeking other opportunities to help these businesses, such as looking at bringing in companies that will support the existing businesses there. And I keep going back to my industry cluster, but that's really what it's about. And there's plenty of opportunities even at the airport where maybe we even work with the base at times, in which I would love to help to do that, to actually see if anyone would be interested in starting any businesses at the airport, such as maintenance for aircraft up there. Whether that's viable or not, but let's get that out. Let's talk to these private entities and see what we can do. But yeah, they should always be working closely with the private industry.
So I'll reach back, sorry, to my military background again. There's something called a supporting commander and a supported commander. We're the supporting enterprise, right? What we do is we provide those things that makes private enterprise easier to run. We try to make it attractive. We try to make it easier for businesses to thrive on the waterfront. I mean, one of my favorite facts about the port is you've got 31, just talking about the marine terminal right now, you have 3,100 feet of, 3,100 linear feet that generate $25 million to $35 million of payroll every year. That's eye-watering for a community of our size, right? So what, so what can we do to make it better for those, for these businesses? Pacific Dream, right down there is Pacific Dream Seafood down by 2nd Street, the country's largest distributor of live Dungeness crab in the entire country, right? You go a little bit to the right, what happens, that's Curtis Wharf. At Pier 1, you've got American Cruise Lines coming in. Right now, they have one ship in laydown. What happens when a ship's in laydown, just moored there? The port gets money from that. That helps generate revenue. DCI, Dakota Creek Industries, just celebrated their 50th anniversary, and fantastic ship. Hopefully there's some employees here. I mean, fantastic, shipbuilding and marine repair. Pier 2, we have our partners at HF Sinclair bringing in Petcoke and also Chemtrade with pearl sulfur, bringing it for export. So it's a lively city here, and the port is a big part of that. And my last point is there's actually a graphic in the executive director's office, which looks like it's probably circa 1950s or so, of the downtown Anacortes. And it says an industrial city in the center of America's playground. So I think that's where that's the responsibility of balancing those two things is the responsibility, a lot of responsibility of the commission. Thank you.
Well, great answers, and I'm just going to add a little piece for the audience in case you want to investigate further. Ports are actually called a public enterprise system in the state. So they run like a business, but they have taxing authority, which most businesses don't have. So it's a pretty interesting combination, if you will. And if anybody wants more information about that, you can go to, I'll write it later, WashingtonPorts.org, and it'll tell you all of the esoterica you never wanted to know. On that, let's take a 5-minute break, and please come on back because there's lots more to find out.
Give me your questions if anything's come up, okay?